Deep in the midnight zone, drifting in the freezing black water, is a predator that breaks the absolute limits of biological scale. For centuries, we believed the blue whale was the longest creature to ever exist on this planet. We were wrong. In the light of deep-sea submersibles, scientists discovered a glowing, venomous serpent suspended in the dark. It was over 45 meters long, the height of a 15-story building, drifting silently through the abyss. But its massive size is not what makes it a monster. The true horror of the Siphonophore is that it is a biological lie. It looks like a single, towering leviathan, but if you zoom in closer, you realize you are not looking at one animal at all. The fundamental rule of nature is the concept of the individual. One mind, one body, one beating heart that belongs to a single creature fighting to survive in the wild. The Siphonophore completely abandoned this rule. This 45-meter-long serpent is actually a colony. It is made of tens of thousands of genetically identical clones, called zooids, that have physically stitched their flesh together. Every single clone in the chain was born from the exact same egg. But instead of separating and living their own lives, they remain fused to a central nerve cord. They gave up their individuality to become puzzle pieces of a living, breathing god of the deep. But to build a machine this massive, they had to make a terrifying sacrifice. If thousands of clones are chained together, they cannot all do the same job. They must divide the labor of life. When a new clone buds off the stem, it completely alters its own physical anatomy to serve the greater machine. Some of these clones become nothing but muscle. They lose the ability to eat or reproduce, morphing into jet propulsion engines that only pulse water to steer the massive ship. Others morph into specialized venomous tentacles, extending a deadly web of neurotoxins meters into the dark. And further down the line are the stomachs. Clones that have no eyes, no muscles, and no weapons, acting only as highly acidic digestion chambers. If you remove a single clone from the chain, it will instantly die. It is biologically incomplete. It only exists to serve the colony. A hive mind of flesh, operating without a central brain. In a barren environment like the deep ocean, food is incredibly scarce. You either hunt with extreme speed, or you build an inescapable trap. The Siphonophore cannot chase its prey, so it builds a wall. It spans its 45-meter body across the current and drops thousands of toxic fishing lines down into the abyss. It creates a literal net of death, covering a massive area of the ocean floor. When a fish brushes against just one microscopic trigger hair, the hunting clones fire their harpoons. Neurotoxins paralyze the prey instantly. But here is where the biology defies logic. The clone that caught the fish cannot eat it. It physically lacks a mouth. Instead, it drags the paralyzed fish up to the stomach clones. They swallow it, dissolve it into liquid protein, and then pump those nutrients up the central stem, feeding the thousands of other clones that did no hunting at all. They share one continuous bloodstream. The victory of one clone is the survival of them all. How does a creature this massive, made of thousands of different individuals, coordinate a single movement? There is no central commander. There is no master brain making decisions. Instead, every single clone communicates through a primitive, lightning-fast nerve net. If the bottom of the 45-meter chain touches something hot, the warning signal travels up the wire in milliseconds, and the swimming engines at the very top immediately fire to pull the entire city away from danger. It operates like a biological internet. It is millions of microscopic decisions happening in total darkness, creating the illusion of one giant, sentient monster. The Siphonophore is a living existential paradox. We look at it and see one giant animal, but biology tells us it is thousands. It forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. At what point does a group of individuals working perfectly together cease to be a group and become a single living thing? We define life by the individual, one mind, one body, one pulse. But in the crushing pressure of the abyss, nature proved that thousands of separate lives can fuse their flesh together, surrendering their identity just to build a single, towering god of the deep.